Live on YouTube right now as well. There we go. Live on YouTube, live on TikTok. Good afternoon, everyone. It is October 9th of 2023. We are speeding to the end of the year. It has just this week became what we would call cooler weather here down south in Texas. We got, I think, in the morning at one point this week, it was 70s, which is just incredible. And then it heated up to about 80, 81 throughout the weekend, which is still incredible for us Texans coming out of the summer heat. That being said, today we are discussing a continued conversation of sorts, but some new information as well. Number one, the future of investing, how new legislation along with new technology is converging together at this very moment in time, creating a shift of all sorts, but mainly a democratization of private market investing for regular individuals who are not high net worth earners or part of some venture capitalist firm. So this is specifically for you if you don't meet that criteria. Of course, if you are a high net worth earner, you're more than welcome always as well. And this also affects you and can bring opportunity to you. So please stick around as we talk about these concepts, not only from an investing standpoint, but also the profound idea that today, the major problem today is companies are exploiting your data and not compensating you for that exploitation. That's just the fact. That's the reality. It is the major problem. Companies are taking your browsing behaviors, your credit card history, your purchase behaviors, the IP address on your phone and laptops, to determine where you are, what stores you enter, for how long you stay there, what things you buy, and so much more, aggregating that and then combining it with other profiles that are perhaps similar to you in certain attributes, packaging that up and going off and selling that to the highest bidder. And those highest bidders are typically, other companies, whether it be credit card companies, hedge funds, or just, more mid-level marketing companies who want to advertise their products and services to you. This is happening on a day-to-day basis, 100 times over to each and every individual, and we're not being compensated for it. And so the big, profound idea is we should be compensated for that. And if we can just build the right environment, the right infrastructure and platform that allows us to claim our digital identity, secure it, and then own it, and therefore choose if and or when we contribute or share that data, we're paid to do that. So with that sort of introduction, again, we're live here on TikTok and YouTube. It is October 9th. We're going to discuss this concept very briefly before getting into a real life prime example of the type of opportunities that present themselves once these sorts of concepts come together in reality. Because newsflash for any of you who are new here, this is not pie in the sky. This is not some future concept that people are writing and talking about now. This is real. This has been built, and this is coming to your front door digitally in the very near future. And the sort of platforms and companies that are providing the infrastructure and the applications and the processes for this today may be some of the first, but they surely won't be the last. And so although they are sort of pioneering this new frontier, it's really the spark of an incredible change in markets and how we view how valuable we are as individuals and the data that we produce. Because here's a newsflash, another one for you. You are all data tycoons. You are a data tycoon. And the data you produce is the heart of global commerce. And the only reason you don't view yourself in that lens, that truthful lens today, is because you have not been plugged in into an environment and an infrastructure that recognizes you as the North Star of their environment. But that is set to change, and you will soon be presented with an opportunity to enable that change for yourself. So, with those things being said, let's get into some of the opportunities that present themselves once you've assembled this new sort of concept and marketplace. I first want to discuss a little bit behind the scenes of how something like this can come to be. We always have to pay homage to history, not only out of respect of where these ideas can come from, but out of an awareness factor. We got to understand where we came from to understand where we're going. And so back in 1792, there was 24 stockbrokers who got together underneath an actual buttonwood tree in New York City. And they assembled and drafted and signed what was known as the Buttonwood Agreement. This document essentially set the rules and standards and the commissions for what eventually became known as the New York Stock Exchange. This was a really important document. Obviously, this was not too long, 1792, after the Revolutionary War, and at a time where America was broke and we're needing ways to restore the economy and stimulate growth from a financial and prosperity perspective for all of its participants. And so these folks came together, drafted a framework, and said, hey, you know what? We have businesses that need help growing and scaling through processes like fundraising. And we have individuals who are participants within this local economy where all these businesses are being established. How do we connect those two parties to allow for not only the dreams of these company owners to be achieved, but the participants, the consumers of the products and services of those companies to also be the investors of those dreams, allowing us to earn a healthy return on our investments. So we're all a big part of this endeavor of prosperity, if you will. And there was 3 grounding principles that this early sort of New York Stock Exchange was grounded upon that were really important. So we'll cover those real quick before moving into this more modern day real-time example that I want to share with you all. Number 1, the first grounding principle of the original New York Stock Exchange was that it was grounded on trust. And in the early days, it was really because it was such a local experiment, and it was in that day, old time when everyone sort of knew each other in the local communities. We all knew each other's families and parents, and so also because of the economic disparity that we were in, we sort of were forced to trust one another. Otherwise, this wouldn't work, and we would be right back in the position we were in, which was a brand new experiment that was America, but unfortunately not financially successful yet. And so that trust and a framework around that trust really enabled the rest to occur, which leading into the second grounding principle was that they had a market based on a revenue-only model. What this means is that essentially you had what were called runners back in that day who would run to the local accounting offices of these local companies to gather their financial reports, their revenue reports, to bring them back, and we would, all assemble together to analyze the financial health of a company and decide whether or not that was something we would invest into, or if we did, how much. Well, that might sound normal to just assess a company based on how much they're spending versus how much they're gaining or earning, and base the financial health of a company off that, and that would determine our investments. But in fact, today it's drifted away from this. Today you have things like the Federal Reserve, which is quite a funny name for an institution that is not only not federal, but has no part of a reserve. The Federal Reserve is an institution that is private. It's not actually part of our federal government, and in addition, has no reserve to back up the spending or the monetary policies that they put forth. But today we have that. We have a Federal Reserve who is affecting money supply and interest rates, which changes how the markets run. They do something else too. They release and have a build up to these releases of speculative reports like the FOMC or the CPI. And in nature, it's not inherently wrong or bad, but unfortunately, because of the power that these global banks have, such as the Federal Reserve, it 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 actually causes major market reactions. The markets wait for these speculative reports to be issued. They base their investment strategies based on the buildup of the reports and the actual, issuing of these reports that have almost entirely nothing to do with the financial health and or the revenue of the individual companies included in that marketplace. And so these things contribute towards sort of a manipulation of the market that is not based on a revenue only model. That was an original grounding principle of the New York Stock Exchange. And thirdly, and last but not least, we were operating with a dollar set on a gold standard. We had some form of reserve that backed our dollar, which gave it some form of value and stability. And today, as most of you know, we do not have that. We have a dollar that has no fixed supply, is infinitely printed for agendas that we won't get into today. We have the manipulation of money supplies and interest rates causing all sorts of issues in the market, along with other agendas that also cause hyperinflation. And all these things devalue the dollar. All these things reduce the purchasing power of the dollars that we're earning here in America. And if you zoom out to global events, you have certain things going on, like the assembling of committees like BRICS, which is something that was actually assembled as early as 2009. But BRICS is an acronym for a conglomerate of countries such as you have Russia, Brazil, India, China, South Africa joined on in 2010. And as of recently, set to join into this committee as soon as January 1st of 2024 will be 6 new countries, including Saudi Arabia, the Arab Emirates. I think we have Egypt, Israel, and perhaps a couple of others, Argentina, I think, with many more countries on the list asking to join. And what does that really mean? Well, what it really means is that these countries are exploring alternative options for a global reserve currency to use to trade their global commodity markets and oil markets. You see, up until, beginning as early as World War II, all these massive countries were using the US dollar as a global reserve currency to trade their markets. And this is what gives the dollar a large part of its utility. And with its utility brings value. But the more and more that you have a declined usage of the US dollar, the more and more you start to expose the fragility of the currency itself, the debt accumulation, and the fact that it has no backing or value other than a military force to assign that value, or the utility of it actually being used, which is starting to diminish day after day. And so, coming back to that third grounding principle of the New York Stock Exchange being set on a currency of gold, that also has faded. And so, I give this history to you so that we can move a little bit forward and switch gears into sort of the history of the public markets, Wall Street, and how it has become something that is massively manipulated, has drifted away from these early principles that gained prosperity in America and really set a great standard, and led to things like the restriction and sort of um, it's sort of the forgottenness of regular individuals like you and I. It would probably surprise you to hear this fact that prior to 2012, there were, in addition to 100,000 plus publicly listed companies on Wall Street raising money every single year, you had about 145,000 private companies just here in America who were raising capital annually. Now, out of those 145,000 private companies, only 1,000 of those were even visible to private investors who were high net worth individuals and or venture capitalist firms themselves. Now, if you can take a guess, and my TikTok audience here in the comments, or even anyone on YouTube, leave a comment. How many of those 1,000 companies out of the total 145,000 private companies did people like you and I have access to invest in? Regular individual investors. Can someone guess how many of those companies we had access to back before 2012? I'll take a second to let any responses come in. Don't worry, there's no wrong answers. Well, there is a wrong answer, but no answer is a dumb one. We want to help educate. I got a YouTube comment here saying 50. That's a great guess. I mean, again, if you had 1,000 companies, only 1,000 companies visible to venture capitalist types and other high net worth earners, how many were even visible or accessible to people like you and me who were not multimillionaires? Okay, we got another comment on YouTube by Joanne saying none. And the latter is true. Great guess, Joanne and Pax. Zero people of our nature, regular people, had access to invest into those private companies. Now, thank goodness, thank God, and thank the people who had a strong pursuit and passion to help democratize the markets to regular people like you and I. There was eventually something that came to pass in 2012 called the Jobs Act. This is an acronym short for Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act. This was a bipartisan legislation that was passed in 2012 under the Obama administration, and it was really a response to the banking financial crisis of 2008. And essentially, out of the 7 articles that were included in this act, all of them together essentially helped ease the regulations that were required by regulatory bodies like the SEC to help regular people have an access and a chance to invest in private companies, giving these private companies a little bit more potential liquidity and giving regular people like you and I a little bit more access and potential to earning and creating wealth. So that was in 2012. And we've spent other lives, and I've also posted a video here on YouTube. The beginning of the title is called 4.5 billion investors. Please go watch that because it really goes into extreme detail into the storyline of what I'm telling you now and just giving you a glimpse of how we were before 2012 to where we're at now in 2023 with equity crowdfunding. But to give you just a small glimpse so we can get to the point of this live stream, Essentially, this shifted from zero potential investors like you and I in the private markets to now where we're at as of 2022, 15 million investors, regular American investors like you and I, have been able to invest in private markets, contributing some large number in the billions towards private investing. Most people don't even understand that as of today, private companies are remaining private for longer than they ever have before. There is more investment by dollars happening in private markets than there is in public markets, by multiple times. And to put that in perspective, you have the public markets, which make up, your big companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google. All these companies represent roughly 33% of the global GDP. Now that's impressive, but where does that leave the other 2/3, the other 66%? That portion is represented by private companies. And so, this continues the theme of we the people. There's more of us than there is of them. If you've ever seen the movie Ants, the ants realizing in the end that they're more powerful than the grasshoppers or the totalitarians who were dictating them. And it goes to show that if we understand the systems that have been built and we participate within them in a proper way, then we can really put our dollars to vote for change and start investing in industries and companies that we align with. Now, without being too theoretical, again, to kind of streamline this and move forward, the point of this all is that we've come to a place now where through both legislation and technology, and I described this in my other video titled 4.5 billion investors in detail, to where we can now propel to a new level where we're not just at 15 million investors, but now we're going to go to hyper growth of reaching, some are describing 4.5 billion investors. And this is extreme. And this is a true democratization. But what does it really mean for you? Well, first of all, it gives you more access to private companies. You see, whenever you invest in a public company or some fund in the public markets, that's really just typically a venture capitalist fund who's then doing the investing on behalf of the financial advisor that you gave your money to. And what these venture capitalists are doing is they're funneling your money from fund to fund to fund, absorbing fees along the way. But at the end of it, whether they make a good investment decision or not, they're earning 2% of that total fund. And then on top of that, they're earning 20% of the profits that they earn, if earned. And then on top of that, you've got, a total of about a 300% override that they're earning. And you were never going to have access to that type of return if it wasn't for the passing of this legislation and the convergence of new infrastructures in the private markets from a technological perspective. But now we have that access. Now you, instead of being happy about your 8%, you can gain access to potentially 1, 2, 300% returns in early stage companies. And this is what's really important. Now, we get to this point of the conversation, and some of you may be saying, well, that sounds really good. I mean, it sounds like I get access, but hey, Hunter, I don't really have the money to be investing in private companies as it is. And I hear you. And the entrepreneurs who worked for decades to pursue the democratization of the private markets for you also hear you. And that's exactly why you have companies and platforms that we've discussed here on live and we've made videos about, both on TikTok and here on YouTube, where they recognize the problem that we discussed at the very start of this stream, that your data was being exploited and you weren't being compensated for it. And so, in addition to offering a new venue for private companies to assemble together in a new sort of private stock market, they said, hey, let's allow you, the individual, an environment that allows you to own and monetize your digital identity and your data. And if and when you choose to contribute your data to this ecosystem, you get paid for it. And now you've got this new sort of frontier where, as an individual, you can claim your digital identity, you can get paid for contributing your data, and now you can take that passively earned income and invest in the private markets. And this is really the profound idea. Now we could end the stream. We could end the stream here, and I think that would be, in my opinion, out of my own personal passion, some profound enough information to make for good content, if you will. But we've discussed this, and we'll continue discussing this and sharing content on it. And I don't want to stop there. I want to give maybe another 5-10 minutes to discuss what I promised I would, which is what sort of real-time, real-life examples and opportunities does this bring to the table today? And if we explore this new sort of private stock market, then we've got companies who are assembling today, well-vetted companies with strong demonstrated history from their founders and their senior management teams, who are choosing this new venue as their preferred platform to launch their companies and seek fundraising. And I want to tell you about a particular company who meets that criteria today. And not just because it's an opportunity for folks who can get involved from a financial perspective, but just to sort of begin to learn and understand. Many of us are not yet educated on how these processes work. We haven't been in the position of private investors or venture capitalists in the past. And so it requires education and a learning curve that is being offered. And I am just a single participant or individual who takes my own time. I don't get paid to promote. I don't get compensated anyway. I just enjoy this, and I think others should know it too, which is why I spend the time doing this. So I want to introduce you to a company that today is using this new sort of to get paid for your data and invest that privately earned income into private stock market. An introduction. And we'll go through, and I'll tell you everything you might need to know or want to know, or give you the opportunity to gain access to that information. So let's start with the problem that this company is attempting to solve. Number one, our industry is a hyper-growth industry. In fact, the growth leg that the solar industry is about to endure is estimated to be larger than the first leg that it had reached the growth that it has so far. However, in the solar industry, specifically solar panel installations on homes, it's operating on a broken customer acquisition model. You see, solar installers are actually just construction companies. And these construction companies are good at construction and installing solar panels on homes. What they are not so great at is also being good at customer acquisition. So what do? These construction companies, instead of taking on all this effort on their own and trying something new that they haven't done before outside of being good at construction is they mostly outsource customer acquisition, especially in the solar markets. Most acquisition today is done by unprofessional and undertrained door knockers. Y'all had to have had this happen to you so far. I have. If you're a homeowner, you've by now probably have someone knock on your door who is young, undertrained, and dare I say unprofessional, trying to sell you a $70,000 loan so that you can install solar panels on your home. What this company is doing, and the name of this company is called Catalyst, is Catalyst has created the solar industry's blue ocean customer acquisition model called renewable real estate. Now, for those of you who, again, aren't familiar with some of these terms, blue ocean strategy is simply a strategy that is completely new. It's so new and so unique, in fact, that there just aren't any other competitors yet assembled in the space. So they are the first. And this customer acquisition model for the solar industry is a blue ocean strategy, has been developed by this company I'm talking to you about today called Catalyst. And this customer acquisition model or platform is called renewable real estate. And let me describe how it solves this problem we just introduced right after I talk to you about, well, I'll actually skip their raised details for the end. But there's no question about the fact that we've had a tremendous growth in solar and that the momentum of it is actually just starting. That can all be validated and verified in your own searches. So let's skip to the setting. We've described and introduced the problem, and now let's set the setting. In 2022, lead conversion rates for the solar industry state the following. Number one, digital advertising from presentation to close has a conversion rate of about 12%. So that means as you being a homeowner, seeing some digital ad about solar acquisition or solar panels in your home, you seeing that has been about 12% conversion rate, which by the way is extremely high compared to other industries and products and services. And that speaks to the growth in this industry, but it's low compared to the other forms of customer acquisition in this industry, which we'll describe now. Self-generated customer acquisition model, meaning the undertrained, unprofessional door knocker, 25% conversion. Again, quite high. But compare both of those numbers, 12% and 25%, to this final customer acquisition model, which is the real estate agent referral. Presentation to close from a real estate agent referral for solar panel installation on a home is 50%. So what's the conclusion here? A real estate agent that is referring their client to solar is the most efficient customer acquisition model in the industry. So the question that comes of that is, how do we activate thousands of real estate agents, capture that value to gain tremendous growth? And the company Catalyst, who have developed this blue ocean customer acquisition model within the solar industry, is doing that in three ways. Number one, they're uniting real estate professionals with real solar professionals through an exchange platform that they've built. Number two, they're protecting the homeowner from overly aggressive and inexperienced door knockers, meaning instead of having to deal with some undertrained, underdeveloped, very young door knocker trying to sell me a $70,000 loan, I now get to shift and work with someone who I want to work with, a real estate agent who is regulated, professional, and trained. And lastly, they're compensating the professionals on both sides of the transaction. We have seen this play out 1,000 times in the past 20 years. I call it the Uberization of the markets, where you had sort of an antiquated marketplace or system. An individual, the consumer, the homeowner, possibly needing solar in my home, and the service offering, the taxi cab, the restaurant where I want food, but I don't want to drive to it. I'd rather have someone bring it to me. And now the solar industry, where I don't want to work with some undertrained, unregulated, unprofessional door knocker. I want to work with the very regulated, professional, and trained person I'm already working with to buy my home. And so you've got the target market being roughly 600,000 plus real estate agents in California and Florida and Texas alone, which is a massive total addressable market. You've got this hunger from mid-level real estate agents who are earning between $100,000 or $150,000 a year, wanting more out of their career and needing an additional revenue stream. This being that. But the most important thing to understand is the shift from old beliefs to a new reality. And the fact is, for most homeowners who might even consider potentially using solar or installing solar on their home, have this old belief, and so do real estate agents. And that is this, that there's a large upfront investment required to purchase the solar panels to install into the home. You got to put a lien on your home to even afford that large upfront investment. The loan itself is non-transferable. So when I move to a new home, I can't transfer that loan that I'm still paying off to the next home buyer. I'm stuck with this loan that doesn't even bring me any benefit to me anymore because I've moved to a new home where my solar panels are not installed. And lastly, you're dealing with under-trained, unprofessional, unregulated door knockers. That's the old belief that real estate agents think are still in effect. That's the old belief that some homeowners still think are in effect when a door knocker comes and knocks on my door. But here is the truth, and here is the new reality. There is no down payment to install solar on your home. There is no lien on your home that you have to place in order to acquire that loan. The loan itself is transferable to the next buyer of your home. So if you install solar and you're living in it and you're reaping the benefits, but eventually as the power of the solar power and paying off your loan goes on, you decide to go move into a new home, you can still transfer that loan to the next homeowner. And lastly, you no longer have to deal with unprofessional door knockers. You can deal with regulated professional sales professionals, insurance professionals, mortgage professionals, and so on. So I'm not going to get into why I think that this particular company has a strong potential for success. I'll quickly just state that they have a really strong network, a really strong approach, and a really strong onboarding of the right people and platforms to project them into success. For example, you have, folks like Jake Dixon, who owns a super large real estate coaching company where he has transacted with over 10,000 paid real estate agents and over 400 paid brokers on his coaching platform. And that platform and that person who has that network is signed with this company, is already referring agents to this platform, and is already, through that referral system or process, had real estate agents submit and process deals and earn money, additional income, meaning there are already 500 plus real estate agents who have earned additional income by being the point of contact and the point of sale for solar installation on their clients' homes, already in effect. So again, this is not ideas coming in the future. This is a platform that's been built in beta, has worked, and is earning revenue. Okay. So we're going to skip that part, and I'm going to skip that part not because it's not important. It's extremely important for anyone's due diligence. But here's why I'm going to mainly skip that part. It's because you have the opportunity to go and view all this same information I'm detailing today by yourself, with no, transaction required. There is no fee to absorb this information. How do you do it? Well, for folks who are watching on TikTok, there's a link in my bio that allows you to go to this new sort of private stock market we've been discussing called IVM. You click that link in there, you sign up for a free account. There is no obligation to pay later. You don't put any credit card down, nothing like that. Just create an account. And once you're logged in, there's a banner for startups where you will click on and find the company Catalyst, who is currently raising money on that platform. And you can view their entire financial pitch and history that you need to make an educated decision, whether you decide that's something that you're interested in investing in or not. So again, you can go view that. And for my folks on YouTube, and most of my video descriptions, including this one, there will be a link that you can click on. It'll lead you to the IVM platform that you can create an account with and go view all this information. But I do want to mention one last thing that you can also verify and validate on your own, which is the team behind it. The person who created this company is an individual named Nick Sarnicola. He's the founder. He's a serial entrepreneur. A little bit about his background is by the age of like 25, he was a multimillionaire, where he gained a lot of that wealth. He was working for a company that eventually went down and out. And at the age of 26, he acquired all the assets of that company, created a new company called Visalis. Visalis ended up for 15 years being wildly successful. Matter of fact, in just 4 or 5 years, Visalis became sort of the creator of challenge-based marketing and created the first challenge-based marketing campaign called Bodies by Vi. Some of you who may be familiar with this, Bodies by Vi ended up accumulating their company and the products they sold over $2 billion in a short 4 to 5 years. And so extreme success. He eventually navigated the company to be acquired by a larger corporation, which still does tens of millions of dollars of sale with the Visalis company to date. He stepped down as CEO and moved on to become or to pursue other ventures. This being one of them. He is the founder of this solar company called Catalyst. He has brought on board a ton of experience from both the solar and the real estate industries. Particular individual, Ryan Higgins, VP of Strategy and Operations for this company, actually worked at the second largest solar dealer in the nation. Most of you may be familiar with the name, Vivint. He navigated them through that success, as well as was instrumental in navigating them through an initial public offering and becoming a publicly traded company on Wall Street, and then being acquired by the number one solar dealer in the nation. You also had an individual by the name of Paulo Rodriguez from the real estate industry, who's a VP at Catalyst now, who was considered to be ranked in the top 1% of loan officers nationwide. And he has a ton of other experience that he brings to the table. And so that's what I mean when I say a demonstrated history of success. And you can learn all you want from them and from their company and what their raise details are, again, by going to link in my bio or link in my video descriptions for my YouTube audience and going to IVM to create an account for free, and then exploring those details yourself and doing your own due diligence and research at one of the startups currently listed on their platform called Catalyst. That's essentially what I wanted to present to you all today. So we covered sort of the history to where we are now about private stock markets and equity crowdfunding, how this interfuses with technology to allow you and I as individuals to get paid for our data and take that passively earned income to invest in private companies. And I gave you a real example of a company who is taking this path today that you can go explore and just learn about. I will disclaimer that this particular company in their current raise is offering an investment to only accredited investors, and in the current round. However, once that round ends, between the next 30 and 90 days, however long it may take, it would spark the eventual opening of what's called a regulation crowdfunding round, which enables regular individuals who are non-accredited to invest in their company as well. So you will get that opportunity if that's something you are interested in. But the main reason I bring this up and describe who this is again, to draw connections between where this legislation and technology has brought us to, and a real life example tying it all together. And there are many, many, many more opportunities that are extremely exciting, that are in pipeline, onboarding into this platform, and that will be going through fundraising practices on this platform soon enough. And if that interests you, then I absolutely invite you to not just hear about it, after the fact, from people like me, but although I do invite you to kind of subscribe to my YouTube, follow me here on TikTok, as I detail the intricacies of this new formation of private markets and how you can get paid for your data and various types of content. I will say that also in my bio there, and for YouTube in my video descriptions, there is a link to sort of a link tree that hosts all my different links, which is only a few, to a Zoom call that is hosted every single Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Central from this private stock market platform called IVM, that they host to the public. Now, another disclaimer, these free publicly hosted calls have been happening for the past several weeks. I have been doing my best to get the word out so people can join hundreds of others who are trying to learn about the future of investing. But the fact of the matter is, they are closing that off to public free consumption, to then only be open to their private audience who are paid members of their platform. I think over the next 2-3 weeks, I think that shift will happen. Until that final word does occur, I do highly suggest that you get out there every Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Central, to the Zoom call, which the details are in my bio or in my video descriptions, and join and learn about the future of investing. That being said, that disclaimer holds true. And eventually, folks, if you wanted to continue to gain access to that type of real-time information, who's being speakers who have been phenomenal so far. I mean, going through the gamut, you've got folks who have moved over $8 billion on Wall Street through mergers and acquisitions, by a gentleman named Nadeem Akhtar. You've got who's a president of a new sort of fintech company. You've got folks like Dr. Wolf Cohn, who created the models and the trading bots for companies like Citibank, earning Citibank over somewhere between $2 and $4 billion per month. He's an AI luminary who came and gave guest speakings into his findings and the information that he can give, who's also part of a new fintech company who they introduced onto the platform. You've got folks like Nick Sarnicola, who we just described. You've got other folks from the other side of the aisle from like sort of the SEC and the CFTC sort of environment. Folks like Vincent Molinari last week, who spoke about the intricacies of his career, um, who did things like lobbying and helped legislating for things like the Jobs Act, working with the SEC, working with the public and private markets, helping to democratize fundraising and investing for regular individuals like us. An excellent individual who co-founded, or I think founded, a company called fintech.tv. Go look this up, folks, if you haven't, tuned in to this sort of thing. Fintech.tv is a broadcasting media company that is streamed live on almost every global exchange trading floor across the world through Bloomberg TV, Roku TV, and their own OCC streaming platform. Excellent voice, who really has a power for, we the people, if I can put it into an encapsulation. Vincent Molinari, founder of fintech.tv, came and spoke. So these are just all free content that we've had the ability to access for the past many weeks, but eventually will go private, and you do have to be a paid, private member of their ecosystem. I don't know exactly when that shift will happen, so that's why I'm still, hoping folks will join those calls until it does happen, and or consider becoming a private member because of the opportunities we just described through this live stream. We got Jack on my YouTube saying, so does Catalyst utilize blockchain Web3? That's a great question. So in the actual nature of the company itself and their business model and processes, my answer would be no. As far as I know, they do not. However, the platform that they have chosen, the venue they've chosen to sort of pick to raise money on, is in fact using sort of Web3 based technology. It is incredible, and we've done a lot to describe how they've built what they've built, what technologies they're using, and other content and other streams and videos. So I won't dive into that just here just yet. We'll save that for another redundant call. But yes, the platform they've chosen to select and raise money on is in fact using, and I'll give you just a quick sneak peek. The platform they've chosen is essentially a private stock market venue that you and I, from a layer 2 application standpoint, can actually visit and participate and use. And that application is built on a decentralized cloud and decentralized database platform that is also partnered or integrated with another company and platform that is using blockchain technology. I'll give you the name of them. They are called CoreConnex. That's KoreConx. CoreConnex was the world's first SEC qualified blockchain platform. What do I mean by that? What I mean is they developed a common infrastructure that all private markets can assemble on and plug into to make sure they are plugging into a 100% compliant platform, integrating and plugging in all of the private companies and all of the required regulatory participants, giving them a common infrastructure that they can use to trust each other enough to share data, helping to uber streamline that entire process for both the issuing companies, the regulatory participants such as SEC transfer agents, broker dealers, auditors, lawyers, blah, 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 and the investors like us. You see, a company like CoreConnex actually has one of their nodes being managed and operated by the SEC themselves. The SEC gets a copy of all the real-time data they need on a particular company. Boom, they're able to use that to push it down on the line of all the other regulated participants. And if this is kind of going over people's heads, that's okay. I've created a video just for you. I released recently. It's actually my most recent YouTube upload other than the streams. It's titled 4.5 billion investors. I really invite you to go listen to that. Give me some feedback in the comments, but it goes into a really great deal of detail describing this company, how they got to where they are, and why they're so impactful and such a monumental shift towards the democratization of the private markets and investing for people like you and I. So, kind of went off track there, but I love the question and certainly is relevant for everything. Thank you, Jack. And that's what we'll do. I'm trying to keep these live streams under an hour, and we're at about 55, 56 minutes. So unless we have any other last minute questions I can answer, I think we'll wrap this up here. But I do invite folks to check out my other content, subscribe, follow, whichever platform you prefer. Check out my latest posts and see if it engages or interests you to kind of stick around and learn more, because that's what we're here to do. Learn about the future of investing, how to get paid for your data, use that passively earned data to invest and create wealth for you and your family. We're at a pivotal shift in history and time. And, you know, what's being organized now is a total new frontier. And with that, comes, great opportunity. It requires, unfortunately, it does require a sort of lean in and an application of real studying to really understand, because not everything is just plug and play, easy to use as a regular, iPhone yet. But the folks who are using iPhones today, the large majority of them have no idea how it works, have no idea the hardware or the software or how any of it connects and works together. No idea how the internet and its protocols work, but they use it. And that's exactly what this sort of new frontier is building now. The infrastructure is complete. The legal and everything else is complete. Now it's that layer two, the application, the user friendliness of it all being built as we speak. So it's incredible kind of to get a peek into all that and be a participant within it. So with that, I didn't see any other questions come in. Thank you all very much for joining. Pax, Joanne, Jack, for your questions and comments. To my TikTok folks, I didn't see many questions or comments here. I'm scrolling, sorry. Hey, Barry, nice to see you again, my friend. Thank you for joining. That's really all I saw. Awesome. Thank you, folks. Hope you'll stick around. We're just getting started. But again, so much to get excited and involved in. And I hope to see you around. Peace. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Actually, if I may quickly end, I've been trying to start a trend here for me, or a theme, and using ChatGPT to give me some word of encouragement to you all. Last time I did it, it was incredible, poetically versed, but it was a bit long. So I want to describe something that is a little bit shorter in nature. Let's see what it comes up with today. Unleashing your infinite potential, ChatGPT. Word for word, I'm reading ChatGPT. Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you not to preach, but to remind each one of us of the immense reservoir of potential that lies within. We are not just a product of our circumstances, we are a product of our choices, actions, and belief. Have you ever wondered why some people against all odds rise and shine? It is because they believe in their power, the unyielding strength that doesn't recognize impossibility. They understand that failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up. Remember, every obstacle you face, every challenge that comes your way is an opportunity disguised. It is not there to stop you, but to prepare you. It's resilient, capable, and unstoppable. It is said, diamonds are chunks of coal that stuck to their jobs. We too, through perseverance and endurance, can transform our toughest trials into our greatest triumphs. There's a fire within you, a spark that is waiting to light up, to blaze trails and illuminate the path, not just for you, but for others. Every step you take forward, every time you decide to believe in your worth, you're not just creating a pathway for your success, but also lighting the way for others. In moments of doubt, remember the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It is the cumulative power of small, consistent steps that conquers the highest mountains and crosses the most turbulent waters. You, my friends, are destined for greatness, and every single step you take is a testimony to the unyielding spirit that resides within you. In the face of adversities, we may not ask, why me, but try me. May every trial be a stepping stone, every obstacle a milestone that bears witness to our journey of becoming the best versions of ourselves. We are not defined by our past. We are not defined by our past, not confined by our mistakes, and never restricted by our failures. Every day is a new canvas, a fresh opportunity to paint a future that resonifies within our dreams, a masterpiece that echoes the symphony of our untapped potential and unyielding spirit. Your potential is infinite, not because of who you were yesterday, but because of who you can become tomorrow. Every sunrise is an invitation to break free from the shackles of yesterday, to transcend limitations, and to embrace the boundless possibilities that await. Thank you. ChatGPT, again, does phenomenal wordplay. However, it did not, I feel, do a great job of keeping that too short. So I must be more descriptive with it and perhaps reduce the amount of time that it takes to describe the message it's sending me. That's all I've got today. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, to my